NFL free agency day 2, and I am certainly not here to testify that NFL teams are all knowing or that fans and media know nothing. That's not my allegation. I do think it's funny, though, when we pretend like we know more than they do, frankly. A great example of this comes from my friend, Colin Cowherd, who has a report this morning on what Washington just did, Cowboys competition. By the way, Mike Fisher reporting from Frisco, home of the Dallas Cowboys. And the Washington football team just switched out quarterbacks, switched out older quarterbacks. Out goes Alex Smith, and in comes Ryan Fitzpatrick. And Colin's like, "Oh, they should have stuck with Alex Smith. That doesn't make it." And again, I'm not only am I deferential to Ron Rivera and Washington knowing better what to do with Alex Smith than I do. I'm not questioning Colin's right to have an opinion and maybe a very educated opinion. But we don't know more about Alex Smith than Ron Rivera does. We don't. We can't. It's impossible. And I would add that one of the problems with Alex Smith, based on our coverage of Washington, is lack of mobility. First of all, Ron Rivera has suggested that the reason he was slow to ever play him and wasn't in his corner as far as playing him, is because he was afraid that he was going to be the coach that was going to put him back in a game and have him get broken. So it wasn't Ron Rivera being a jerk. It was Ron Rivera having some deep concerns about Alex Smith's devastating leg injury from 2018. And then they did work together, and they won game. They went 5-1, by the way, with Alex Smith as the quarterback. But his lack of mobility and the fact that the leg bothered him sometimes, but his lack of mobility was a real problem. Well, guess what? Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you watch him, he's mobile. Now, he's 38, and I don't believe he was ever a, Olympic track star. He played quarterback at Harvard what is it now, 17 years ago. But he's mobile. He could still sling it. And in terms of leadership, and Alex Smith qualifies in that category, obviously, the NFL Comeback Player of the Year, guy that everybody roots for, including Dak Prescott. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, his teammates will tell you he's an electrifying guy. He's a cool guy. So I'm not going to question what Washington's done here at quarterback. They know more than I do. And with all due respect to Colin, I think they know more than he does. I'm also not going to laugh at what the Bengals have done in their signing of Chido Awuzie. I'm telling you from a Cowboys perspective, they understand what there is to like about Chido, but this is not going to be the team that's going to go pay for a commitment to a player that they don't love, a performer that they don't love. Chido's slowness to come back from injury became a concern last year. Okay? You heard it here first. That's a fact. And that factors into Dallas's thinking. It doesn't have to factor into Cincinnati's thinking. Maybe they're not fully aware of that, or maybe they just disagree with it. But good for Chido and good for them. Meanwhile, here's the separator for me. You'll notice listen, I grew up in Minnesota, and I grew up loving hockey and playing hockey, and you might know my Mike Modano story. But I don't come here to you and talk too much about, here's what the Dallas Stars should have done. I don't know. And so, we try to stay in our lanes here. And the thing about the Cowboys is the fan base has such width and depth and breadth, are those all words? That everybody's an expert. Unlike you who's an actual expert. So where you can separate the men from the boys when it comes to the boys is when they observe the re-signing of C.J. Goodwin and when they call him a cornerback. I don't care what it says on the depth chart, because it does. It says has a CB next to him. He's ST. he can't really play cornerback. They don't want to play him at cornerback. He's got a 2-year deal now, $3.5 million total, which is a bargain. $2 million guaranteed. Drew Rosenhaus did the deal, and I would consider that a team-friendly deal if we've got those numbers right. That is a almost veterans minimum, it looks like to me, to have the best special teamer on this squad stay around here and do all the stuff that he does. Sometimes he's so good at special teams, sometimes they ask him to do too much. Going out for a pass on a fake punt, that's probably asking him to do too much. He probably won't catch it. Having him be the receiver on a kickoff throwback, which they did last year. He was a great actor, pretending like, I think I'm hurt. Then he got up off the ground and caught a pass, but he almost dropped it. So CJ, good one, good guy to have in your team. Great guy on special teams, not a cornerback. And if you're hanging around with all your buddies and they say, yeah, we signed a cornerback, set them straight. No, what you did today is you lost a cornerback in Chido Awuzie, and you gained a special teamer who people mistakenly call a cornerback. And then while you're at it, keep an eye on the other teams in the NFC East, because they lost a cornerback as well in Ronald Darby, Washington, and they're going to have to scramble now. They may go spend, and they can afford to go spend to go get cornerback help, but they've gotten themselves quarterback help as well. And if you think because Ryan Fitzpatrick is old, or because he played at Harvard, or whatever you think about him, and you think he's therefore immobile the way Alex Smith is, you have another think coming. We'll see Cowboys Washington, obviously, a couple times coming up this year. We'll keep you abreast of all things going on in Cowboys land when it comes to free agency and more, so keep it here. Fish, out.